Good morning, friends. How are you today? This is Kim Ruiz again with Fambuli Insurance Services. Are you worried or concerned about your retirement? I know if you're like me, even as a trained CPA, we never really learn about what we need to do with retirement. So I've been having a really big pull on my heart to really start digging in, helping folks and teaching folks to learn more about retirement. So although this is super uncomfortable for me, I figured what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through what I learned from this book that I'm reading right now. It's been sitting on my shelf probably for about 2 months, and I know it's time to dig in, and I just can't push the urge off anymore. So I hope you'll join me along with this journey. I hope you can learn something, and I'm here to help and happy to answer any questions or share more of what I've learned. So we're going to dig in. It's called The Power of Zero by David McKnight. And it says how to transform the zero tax bracket, how to get to the 0% tax bracket and transform your retirement. So why is this important? So the first chapter just scared the living daylights out of me. So it was talking about how the different tax rates have changed over time and how right now we're in the lowest tax bracket. So what does that mean with retirement? Well, it's super important on where you're sticking your money, because although now the tax rates, although they seem like they're a lot, they've been a lot more in the past. So I'm looking at this one chart on page 10, and it's showing how back in the late 40s, even mid 40s to the 60s, they were at 90%, guys, 90% tax bracket. So that's making your maximum tax bracket at 40-ish% now. Doesn't look that bad. So the thing is we have a lot of uncertainty where our government's going and as far as what things are going to look like, because we all know that Social Security and Medicare may not be around for us that are in our, 30s, 40s, by the time we get to retirement age. And why is that? Well, a couple of reasons. One, a lot of times in the past, people weren't making it past the retirement age of 65. And now people are living longer, and so they're using and drawing on those benefits, both on Social Security and Medicare. And so what's concerning about that is the fact that way back in the day, we had a lot of people that were working versus the people that are drawing on retirement. So we had, I think it said something about like 30 some employees to 1 or 2 people that are, per 1 or 2 people drawing on security. Whereas now it's only 2 people per the one person that's drawing on retirement. So that means that there's not a whole lot going in to fund retirement and Medicare and Social Security. And so what's going to happen to be able to keep up that program? So obviously at some point the government's going to have to start raising taxes to help pay off all of those big expenses. And the amount of expenses is crazy. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. So that's what I learned in the first chapter. So now what we're doing is looking at what he calls the 3 buckets of income. So you have your taxable income, your tax-deferred income, meaning you're not taxed on it now, and then the tax-free income. So what he's going to walk us through, and I'm really excited to see what he recommends and how he plans on doing all of this. So as I said, I'll keep you posted. But the biggest thing is learning what goes into each bucket. So then that way, once it comes time to get to retirement, and if we're in those higher tax brackets, then we're not going to get hit with some crazy tax rates and only get a sliver of what we plan to save for retirement, if we've even planned it all. So today, when I was reading it, we were learning about the tax bucket. So what does that mean? So I took some notes, so I'm going to refer to it so I don't miss anything. But anyways, it talks about this is the income that you're taxed on now as it grows. So think about CDs and money markets, stocks, bonds, all that good stuff. So as I tell my clients, everything has its pros and cons. So we're going to talk a little bit about both in this bucket, okay? So what people don't realize is when they have these gains and these types of taxable funds, so your CDs, money markets, although it looks like you're making money at whatever rate they say it's growing at, we're not factoring in the tax impact of that. So it's really funny how the author refers to the love letter from the IRS at the end of the year that we get from these funds. So that's your 1099. So that's how your income has grown in those different funds, and you get taxed on that at the highest rate at the end of the year. So he gives an example. So it shows that, let's say you have 100,000 sitting in a CD or money market, and it's growing at 2%. Okay, so it looks like you're actually making $2,000. However, we're not thinking about the tax impact of that. So Uncle Sam's going to want 24% of that is going to go to federal. Oh, and by the way, most states have your state income tax. So now you're getting hit with 24% on that 2,000, as well as, let's just say, 6% on your state income. So now you're getting hit with 30%. So now your 2,000 is not 2,000 anymore. It's actually only, 1.4% growth, which is 1,400, right? So that's something super important to consider, right? So like I said, there's pros and cons with everything. So then if we look at what's the benefit of having these accounts, well, it's great to have these accounts because they're liquid, meaning you can grab them when you need them. So these are really great accounts to set up for your emergency funds. And I talk to a lot of people and a lot of clients, and they're like, oh, I have all this money stashed away for the rainy day, or what if something breaks, or what if this, what if that, what if that. But we're not always considering what the tax implication of it is. Yes, we are able to get it when we need it. However, what is that costing you to be able to have that liquid? Couldn't that money be working better for you, potentially somewhere else? So I'm excited to see what that looks like. So what else did he talk about? So he actually recommends only having 6 months of income, so whatever you need to run your household, to sit in those types of accounts. So in that example for 100,000, they're putting way too much into that account and getting too much tax on that 100,000. So let's say, for example, you need $4,000 to keep your house running every month. So you really should only have 24,000, not 100,000. That means you have all this other cash, 76,000, that could be making way more than 2% somewhere else and not getting hit with the tax. So I thought that was really interesting. The other downside of these types of funds is the fact that there's what he calls double compounding on this. So that means every year when your income is growing in those accounts, so let's say it was 100,000 when you first started, and now it's 102, and you got hit on that 2,000. Well, let's say it grew again the following year and it's now 105. So now you got taxed on the 102, and now it's you're going to get taxed on that additional growth again. So 3,000 more that's getting taxed. So every time it grows, you're getting taxed on it. And so we're not always thinking like, oh, it's great, it's 2% growth, but over time, is it really that much? And then what happens if the tax rates increase? So now it's not even reflecting the cost of inflation and everything else. So it's just really interesting to consider this, because we think of the growth aspect of it, and believe me, it's better than having it sit in just the bank account and getting, almost no growth. But at the same time, I know there's several other options that you can use that can really start making your money work for you, and you're not worried about getting hit with the tax on this small amount of growth over time. So just as a reminder, he does mention that these funds do serve a purpose, of course, but they are really good to be your cushion against life emergencies. So remember that 6 months of income is what you want to keep in those accounts. So you do have that cushion. However, you can have your money work more for you in some of these other buckets. So that's all I have for today. I'm really, really excited about this book. Like I said, I'm really digging into retirement because I know it's super important, and this isn't something we learn all the time. So I'm here to help, and I'm excited to see where this takes us. All right, have a great day. Take care. Bye.